Hey Rush Royale developers, I know that you told me to do this video a long time ago, but I haven't had time, and there's been a lot of changes just in my life in general, and I had time to make it now, and so I'm making it now. Thank you, by the way, for the creator code, Taylor. I think it's very funny that I'm able to finally have Taylor Swift in Rush Royale in my own special way, with my code name Taylor for your My Game store. But I wanted to address that because I finally have this creator code, and the game is basically as free to play as it has ever been. And I know that you want to make money and I want to make money, and don't worry about this video being posted. I privated it. Nobody, my followers won't see this. It's just you, because you wanted this video, and so I wanted a way to give it to you. And so I thought posting it just on my YouTube and privating it would be sufficient. And you've been asking me, my thoughts on what I should make, what kind of legendaries you can put as event units, in order to generate more money, for you. And I have some ideas. I've been thinking about this ever since you asked me, because you were like, oh, you know what? We have no idea, what new event units, we can make. We'll just do a new, more powerful unit this time. And then after that, we'll just do a new, more powerful unit. And we're running out of ideas. And Elliot, please help me. I know that's hyperbole, right? But, you asked me, what event units that you should put into this game in order to generate money for both you and me, so that people can use my creator code Taylor in the shop, so that they can buy gems and buy things and get percentages off about it. And so here's my idea. And I've been creating. I had this idea for a very long time, but I didn't know how to phrase it. Because you can't just keep making better and better units. That's going to get stale. People are going to catch on to the idea that, first you introduce Riding Hood, and then you introduce a little bit more powerful Genie, then you introduce a little bit more powerful Bard, and then you introduce a little bit more powerful Treant, and people are eventually going to catch on to that, right? People aren't just going to keep spending thousands of dollars for each of these event units. So I have an idea, and I've had it for a while, and I think I've perfected it. So this is what you're going to do for the next couple of events, right? And it's a multi-stage event kind of thing. I've been floating around the idea that you should do support units, but it feels like all of the support units that are currently in the game basically are the best kind of a support unit, right? You have the thing that does defense reduction. You'd have the thing that has that levels up your cards. You have the thing that levels up your cards randomly, but it has the ability to go, to 6s and 7s easier. And you have your knight statue, support card. You have your summoner support card. You have your Harley Quinn support card. Basically you guys kind of dropped the ball on that one. You know that? Can you imagine if you went back in time, Dryad and Scrapper were never, in the game, and then you sold that to people as an event unit? Can you imagine the millions of dollars that you could make off of everybody if those were the support cards? Oh, this is just a merge game. This is just a merge game, but now in this event unit, Dryad, you can upgrade anything. And then, a month later, Scrapper. You guys could have made billions of dollars, but you didn't, so I came up with new ideas. And this is my new idea. I think there's a problem, and that you've created yourself, right? And I think you guys can acknowledge that you've created this problem. You've created this problem that there are 5 different, event units that are all basically the best, and there's no variance, right? It's just kind of if the game were to end right now, and everybody had the ability to max out every card, if you never added in a single other thing in this game, Treant decks would just be running rampant. And it would just be whatever your level of Treant, is it better than your opponent's level of Treant? And then when you had a max level Treant, it would be support cards, and who had the better max Treant with support cards. And then if you both had equal max Treant and max support cards, then it would be, what hero are you using? Are you a free-to-play peasant that uses Mermaid? Or are you a pay-to-win whale that uses Zeus and Fortuna, right? And then the Zeus Fortuna players would just play against each other, and that would be the end of the game. That's the variance. That's the variance that you have in this game right now. If the game were to end right now, every single match would just be Treant players because that is the best card. And there's no way to fight against that even if you have a good deck. There's no way to fight against the max deck, and that's why 90% of your top 100 players in this game, that's why they all have Treant decks, and that's the thing, right? So I've come up with a multi-stage idea on support cards that you can sell to players at event unit cost, and that is a singular toxic support that is faction specific. And it took me a while to come up with this idea and to like formulate it in my head and what it would do to the meta. And essentially what it is it's kind of like a clock. It's actually exactly like a clock, but instead of doing reduction on attack speed, it does actual damage reduction. So you can like play with the numbers all you want, but essentially it's exactly like a clock, but instead of attack speed, it's attack percentage damage. Like percentage of damage, it's a reduction on percentage of damage. But it's faction specific. So if you were to run it in your deck, if you mana power it up, it gets better. If you rank it up, it gets better. If you merge them out, it's kind of like the clock. It'll do a field reduction for a larger field reduction based on the level, right? But it's faction specific, and it's faction specific toxic. So you have a forest faction that applies to their forest faction units. You have a techno one. You have a light faction one. You have a magic council one. I already see what I already know what you're seeing, and that's money, 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 money. That's all, each event for the next 5 events, however many factions there are. What is it? 5 factions? Are there 5 factions? Techno, Dark, Light, Magic, Forest. You could do this for the next 5 events. And each event, you sell them a different unit that is literally just a clock, but it's in attack damage. So it is a very big reduction on attack damage if you gain a lot of them on your field. But there are obviously 2 problems with that as a player. You can't just put the Forest Faction Toxic in your deck and beat a Treant deck, right? You still have to level them up. The unit itself does nothing, like a clock, right? The unit itself doesn't attack. And it has to sit on your field, which means it also has to sit and take up space on your field, right? So not only are you putting yourself as a player using it at a disadvantage because you have to run a unit that does nothing, but you also have to level it up, and you have to merge rank it up. And what if your opponent isn't even running a Treant deck? That is the balance. It has built-in balance, because if you are running a deck and you are willing to try to take down the meta, right? And you decide to run the Forest Faction thing, and they decide to run Riding Hood, right? Then it's not going to do anything to them. So now you have a useless card in your deck, and so then you have a push and pull way of deck building. But if you don't have this push and pull way of deck building, what you're left with is Treant mirror matches. But if you introduce this, and maybe Treant decks decide to run a Forest Faction, toxic thing, and they decide not to run a Trapper or a Harley Quinn or an Enchant Sword, if they decide to not run an optimal actual, a summoner, if they decide to make their deck weaker so that they can have a better position against another Treant deck, then they're put at a quote unquote disadvantage if the opponent decides to pick Riding Hood, at which point they could run the technogenic one, but if then they face a forest like another Treant deck, then they're probably gonna lose because now they have a dead card, right? This kind of variance, I think, is what you need in this game. It also allows people who don't have event units, who didn't, pay money into this game, to have a chance at beating the meta. If you have a Bruiser deck and you have a Forest Faction Toxic and you're just facing a whole bunch of Treant decks and you're just losing to Treant decks, you can put a Forest Faction Toxic thing in your deck, in your Bruiser deck, and maybe have a chance against a Treant deck, right? I feel like that level of I always talk about the rock, paper, scissors mentality. Like that this game should have a rock, paper, scissors kind of feel. But this game doesn't really have that at all. Like if you go up against a Treant with your Tesla deck, you just have to play it out. And if you don't have anything against Treant, there's not a sideboard. It's not a 2 out of 3 type game. So you don't really have recourse if you know every deck is going to be a Treant deck. You just have to have Treant, right? This allows people to not only, one, pay for 5 of these because you have 5 different events, and so you sell them the Dark Faction one in one event, and then a couple months later you sell them the Technogenic one. This is just so much money. Like, you guys would make so much money. And if you take this idea, you don't even have to credit me. I don't even care. I just want what's best for the game, and I think that this is something that you can put into this game that will not only make you large quantities of money, it'll make me large quantities of money as well, but it'll make you guys so much money if you did this. 5 faction toxic, attack reduction units that do literal nothing, but it adds variance into this game. It allows somebody with a Treant deck to be like, oh my god, am I going to play against another Treant deck? Should I take in the Forest Faction Toxic unit in order to beat the mirror match? Or should I just run Treant? And then it forces a Riding Hood player to be like, should I instead, or if everybody thinks that Treant is the best card, maybe I shouldn't run Treant, and all those people that are running the Forest Faction Toxic card, I can instead run Riding Hood, and then the Treant player that decided to run the Forest Faction Toxic card will have a dead card, and then I have an ability to win because I have a Riding Hood deck with the Forest Faction Toxic thing, and then I can win against a Treant. And, it adds that, that one step ahead, that, I don't know if you've ever seen The Princess Bride, but it has, that kind of thing. It's like, I knew that you were going to poison mine, but I knew that you knew that, so I decided to switch them so that yours is poisoned and mine is not poisoned, but I knew that you knew that I would know that you would do that, so then I decided to poison mine, and so that you would take it, and then you would try to switch it with me, and then you would take it, and I knew that you would take it, and I knew that you knew that I would know that you took it, and that I would then switch it, but then you knew, it has that kind of mentality of play. Because right now, everybody's just playing Treant and winning. That's pretty much it. There is no variance. And I know that you guys have been struggling with this concept, and I know that for the next events, then maybe the next 3 events, you guys already have the newest DPS card, and then the newest DPS card, and then the newest more powerful DPS card after that. But beyond that, after the next 3 better and better and better DPS cards, take my idea, it's up to you. It's up to you, Rush Royale. You guys, know more than I do, but you asked me, you wanted my opinion, you've been begging for my opinion. You were like, Elliot, we don't know what to do. We're just gonna keep making DPS cards. We're just gonna keep making event DPS cards better and better and better and better and better, and people will keep buying it. And maybe they will. maybe they will just keep buying it because that is what the game is. You need the best thing, right? And so if you come out with a unit that is just slightly better than Treon, right, then that becomes the new best thing. And then if you come out with another unit that's just slightly better than that one, then that becomes the next best thing, right? But I think that people eventually are going to catch on to that. And I think that this gives you 5 opportunities for 5 events to sell people like a Forest Faction DPS, a Forest Faction Toxic unit, and then a Magic Council Toxic unit, and then a Technogenic, I think I think that amount of money flow would just make you and me very rich. And that's what we want to be, right? We just want to be like very rich and give people, like an opportunity to be like, like, why are these event units so good, right? Now it's like, now you can sell it to them. This is your selling point. You can sell them a Forest Faction, because Treon just came out, right? You can make your first unit a Forest Faction Toxic thing and be like, oh, you Bruiser and Monk players, you hate Treon so much, buy this event unit. It's a Forest Faction attack reduction like Toxic unit that you can beat Treon with, and sell it to them like that. And then after that, after you make billions of dollars doing that, then upgrade, like buff Tesla, buff Riding Hood, right? Buff Riding Hood to be better than Treon, right? To be so much better than Treon. Make Riding Hood the meta, right? Just buff it insanely to where everybody hates Riding Hood. Then in that next event unit, it just be like, oh, you hate Riding Hood? Here is the technogenic unit that you can beat Riding Hood decks with. And then after that, you already know where I'm going. Genie, make the magic fist on Genie hit 10 times. Be like, oh, you know what? We've forgotten about Genie. Genie's magic fist hits 10 times. It has a 30-second cooldown, or a 10-second cooldown. It hits the field 10 times. It's an area of effect. It hits the whole field 10 times. And then the event after that, just be like, oh, you hate Genie? Here's the Magic Council Toxic unit to do attack reduction on Genie. It's going to make us so much money, Rush Royale. And don't worry, again, like I've privated this video. I'm going to upload it. I'm going to send it to you right now. And just, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear it. And if you want other ways of making this game like pay to win, just let me know. I play this game, as you know, like so much. And I have a lot of ideas. Oh, you know what? Spoiler alert. Something else I've been thinking, because you've watched for this long. I'll give you this information. Part of my pay to win strategy plan for you guys. You need to look at Counterspell. You guys are already selling people Zeus, all the legendary heroes. Zeus, Necromancer, Fortuna. You're selling people 10 shards for $100. Genius idea, by the way. Genius idea. I would have thought like 20 bucks. I would have thought at max $30, $40, maybe 50. The fact that you guys went 100 on that and people are still doing that, that's fucking insane. Right? It's crazy. That's just mind-blowing. Bravo. If I wasn't holding my phone, I would clap. I can, here we go. I would clap. I would standing ovation. $100 for 10 shards is genius, and the fact that people are doing it is insane, right? But on that same train of thought, Counterspell. You guys are overlooking Counterspell. Sell people Counterspell 1 for $50. Sell them Counterspell 2 for $100. And if people think that's insane, people are buying 10 shards, 10 legendary shards, knowing that you need hundreds of legendary shards to max out a legendary unit. They are buying 10 shards for $100. There is no way they will not buy a Counterspell 2 for $100 if they are allowed to place it on any equipment. and you absolutely know that somebody is gonna buy it, put it on something dumb like an amulet of weakness, and then realize, oh no, I put it on the wrong thing. Oh no, you need to give me back my money. And the brilliant thing is you don't have to. You don't have to give them back their money, because that's their fault, right? And then they have to buy another one. They have to spend another $100 to put it on their spear, their Forest Faction spear for their Treant deck, right? And then it just cycles in, right? And then that's when you put in the Forest Faction toxic thing. If you want more ideas, Rush Royale, just let me know. I have a lot of them. Like you gave me the creator code, and I really want to take advantage and tell people to spend money in this game. I want people to spend money in this game so that I can make money as well. Like, and if you want any more like pay to win ideas, I have a lot. There's a lot in this little noggin. If you want them, just let me know. I got a lot. I'll catch you guys later.